All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you for being here. And happy equinox, happy spring in the northern hemisphere, happy fall in the southern hemisphere. Either way, it is one of two chances a year that we get to tap into actual literal balance. So thank you, God. Let's just drink that in and know that it's available really intensely for at least the next 6 weeks as we move through the 12 weeks to summer solstice. That halfway point will be really interesting. And so it is a time of transition and change and rebirth. I want us to honor the new beginning that spring promises, but I'd also like to honor the grief that goes with the completion that happens prior to birth. Do you know how they say sometimes mothers and fathers, for that matter, can be a little depressed after the birth of a new baby because there has not yet been an acknowledgement made that the old life is over, now that this new life has come into being and it's taken over. So we want to be okay with the mourning process if we are still completing things and feeling like we're having to tie up loose ends and complete things before we can really start fresh and clean and new. But that clean and fresh and new is truly available. And I want to just remind you of our little mantra around here is as above, so below, and as within, so without. So we do the shifting, the energy work, the body work, spirit work, soul work, so that we can function better. And the balance that we're getting to tap into at this time can really serve us on every level if we allow it. As humans, we're getting caught up in a lot of the techie world and trying to operate like computers, and our bodies aren't built for that. So at the very least, you could check in 4 times a year, 8 times a year to allow your system to do its own natural processing. And that's always going to be my guidance for you. But just be aware that we're coming out of the dark time. It's been a little sleepy, laid back again, as I said earlier, in this hemisphere. We're going to slowly be acclimating ourselves to more light, more activity, more energy. So that vitality that is trying to wake up within you, we want to give it some space to be. And the garden of the soul is just the perfect analogy. Everything that we want to do in our garden is what we want to do in our lives, in our soul work, in our body work. All of it is tending and ongoing and never ending. You know, a lot of people ask me, when's it going to end? It's not going to end. While we're here, the cycles and patterns repeat infinitely. What changes is us and the alchemical mix of where everybody is in the sky, so that above and below alters and evolves and changes over time. But the basic rhythm of Earth stays the same. Our bodies themselves haven't evolved nearly as much or as fast as technology has, so we have to still honor nature, honor the processes that are pretty slow compared to technology and what we're used to. And what I love, I will throw in some astrology here, Uranus moving into Taurus for the first time in 84 years is actually going to support that, I believe, and help us get back in our bodies and understand how much our systems can actually manage and handle in any given time, but also to get better at our day-to-day thing and slow down. Slow down and really know that your filters are so important. Your checks and balances are so important, internal, personal checks and balances. Is this too much? Is this not enough? You know, just checking in with the balance is going to be your first thing that you have to do, first getting ready for spring. And as we said, it's an initiation. So new beginnings in that don't know mind and improvising, allowing yourself to have a little extra space to try something in a new way or try some new things. That's what the season supports. We can plant our seeds and tend to our seeds and till the soil and make sure there's water and light and all that good stuff. But Spirit breathes life into it. And every seed has its own gestational process, so we can't be attached to when certain things blossom. And that way we can honor the rhythm and trust that you've done the work. You planted the seeds. They're going to grow. They're going to blossom. It's just a matter of them going through their natural process to be able to do that. So with spring, we're always, and all the seasons really, is an affirmation of the life-death life cycle. This is our renewal time. This is the return of the light, getting increased light. So like I said, with the 2 times a year that we get access to true, authentic balance, we also would like to look at those 2 times. This is a start with balance, prepare for increased light. When we get to the next point at fall equinox, it's going to be check in with your balance and prepare for decreased light, for less light. So this is, again, you want to honor the rhythm. The rhythm is what it is, and when we fight against it, it hurts our bodies and souls, I assure you. So it's much easier to figure out how your body responds to each season, winter, spring, summer, fall. When do you have the energy? When do you have kind of low energy? And even if you're backwards, which I confess I am half the time, some people are wired differently. And so they're in wintertime, they might have all the energy in the world, even though it's time to be pulling inward. So just honoring your own individual nature, but being aware of the nature that's going on around you and being in sync with that gets super useful. And the whole recalibration of light and dark with us at this time, how are your sleep patterns? How are your days and nights? How does that go for you? It's a time to check in again and see what's enough and what's not, what's not enough. And remembering that this is an energetic portal where we renew our hope and awaken our courage. And like I said, initiate, try new things. Often, a week before the solstices or equinoxes, it's good to purify your system or pull back a little bit and do that cleaning, clearing, and cleansing, that purification process that distills the energy and clears out the old and makes room for the new. It's, again, a kind of a practice and something that you can get a rhythm with that will really serve you down the line. But spring cleaning and space clearing, open, expand, slowly, gently, be gentle with your system. But like I said, at fall equinox, we'll be consolidating and pulling in. We'll be doing something completely different. So right now, this opening up is so important and completely supported. And we're preparing for growth and development. Like I said, increased activity, light, and energy, it means there's more to manage. There's more to do. There's more growth to accommodate. And if you've done the clearing, the growth can happen naturally. If you still have clearing to do, it's not too late, but just know that as things start to grow in your life, you've got to have room for them, or, then you've got other challenges to deal with. And so spring is our time to get clear and get clean and start fresh and maybe check in with the routine. Is it working for you? And how did it work over the course of the last year? Reflecting on it and knowing that every year or two it may have to shift to support and accommodate what you're doing each year, year in and year out. Now, this particular spring equinox is tremendously powerful because of the planetary placements. So I would like to talk a little bit about the energetic support and what's going on. Our spring equinox timing was about 6 o'clock on the East Coast and 9:45 for the full moon. So the full moon was a little under 4 hours later. So I think that the way we'd like to look at it is we had this seed point, and then about 4 hours later we had this culmination point, 2 different points to deal with at the exact same time. So this is why I said we can still feel like we are in completion mode, immersed in the Piscean energy is still very strong, so deep end of the ocean, available for all of us, and a time of, feel like you're in the womb of development. Think of it like that. And what are you, like we said, planting in the garden, allowing into the quality nutrient into the womb to feed and nourish your creative babies and what you're trying to bring to life this spring and this summer. So when we're in the womb, often we can hear and sense and feel things that we cannot see. And so getting okay with that. And knowing that the support at that time is the imagination and the connection to God and Spirit, and knowing that we are all one. And we all have to, basically go through the same things. in our own little individual ways and learn our lessons. So the beauty of the super full moon at that, we have a couple of super moons, which makes the magnetic poles that much stronger. The alignment is more in alignment, like not exact, but close, in its strongest alignment, which again, like Shanta was saying earlier, anything that you are wanting to create or magnetize or manifest in your life, just connecting to that essence, connecting to that idea and concept and the feeling in your body magnetizes it right to you. And of course, creating a space for it will do the same as well. But our super full moon in Libra is something that is very special because we're going to have another full moon in Libra within this 30-day period, and it is an official blue moon. 2 full moons in the same sign. Full moons always signify our maximum point of light. They're usually shining a bright light, in this case, on our relationships, collaborations, and partnerships. So what has run its course for the year, for the last 3, 6, 9, 12 years, for the last 7, 14, 21, 28 years, whatever cycle you want to tune into, there's a certain we've been in the zone, and I actually have talked to many of us in the circle over the recent years, since 2012, of just renegotiating relationships on absolutely every level, personal, professional, and otherwise. We're in new space. We are becoming new individuals. What I call the emergent self that is coming together as we speak is automatically shifting our relationships. When you change, everyone around you has to change or go away. It's just the natural law of things. When your vibration shifts, think of the radio dial. That little bit of static can come out of nowhere. You're bopping along just fine with your radio songs, and all of a sudden it gets staticky. Well, then you have to adjust the dial. That happens in life as well. One of the other things that happens when we get 2 full moons or 2 new moons back-to-back in the same sign like this, it sets off an 18-month process. So for the last 18 months, we've had the full moon preceding the new moon, which in my experience, it allows you to see everything that needs to be done and cleared and completed in order for you to start fresh and clean. Then you can plant your seeds and trust that they're going to be fine. So you start your lunar process of, again, gardening, which is tied very much to the moon. All of that starts with a completion before you initiate. Now, once we get through the next month, the new moon is going to precede the full moon for the next 18 months. And what I've learned with this one is now we have to plant seeds on blind faith. We want to walk by faith, plant our seeds, trust, keep going, and then we get 2 weeks down the road to the full moon, and it's going to shine a light very often on something we didn't know or overlooked or missed it completely. And that's okay. It's just a different way to go. And I like to put it on the radar so that people can be comfortable with how the rhythm is going, again with the rhythm. And a lot of our energetic support points to aligning with the rhythm of the moon at the very least. And if you can't do that, the 8 times a year with the seasons is the second best thing. And that's a solar rhythm. So either one is wired into your system naturally, and either one that you really resonate with and that works for you, get on it, because that will allow you to naturally navigate the life-death life cycle of the year. And it gives you permission. What I love about working with the seasons is it gives us permission to move on, to get on to the next thing that has to be done, and you kind of do it step by step by step, and you get to the end of the year, and everything that you wanted to touch base with has had a chance to get integrated on some level if you've done it at every turn. And I've done it, there's years where it's chaotic and it's busy and I get off track, but I got to tell you that when I stick with it and I stay on track, which means tuning into the moon and tuning into the rhythm of the sun and minding my own natural rhythms, then I'm much more effective and I'm a lot less stressed. So that's why we love to do this. And so this is a rhythm changer, everybody. And April, May brings in those new energetics, like I said, of Uranus and Taurus, first time in 84 years. And Chiron is nice and anchored in Aries for the first time in 50 years. So self-healing is up and, again, completely supported. And I've got a couple of notes to share here. So let's look at our earlier part of the day as we initiate with Equinox. We are birthing a new routine to support the new identity. And again, here's where the notation of following the rhythms of the moon is really important. We are mining the wisdom, I would say, of our partnerships and recognizing the value of partnering up. Like, we can't do anything really totally alone anymore. You know, you have to do your own personal individual work on your own for sure, but you don't have to do it by yourself. And so we gain any supplemental energy and support that we might need along the way when we partner up. It eases the burden for everybody. And, you know, many hands make light work. So you can double your resources if you can look for those different perspectives are just really useful right now. This is the Equinox chart supporting nurturing your raw truth. You know, we're really getting down to telling this new story with Jupiter in Sagittarius, first time in 12 years. So think back to 2007. How did your truth and story evolve between then and now? I have a perfect one because I birthed Karmic Tools in 2007, and now in 2019, 12 years later, I'm birthing KellyandBeard.com. So a new story is emerging, a new perspective, a philosophy, my earth medicine practice. There's so many things that are shifting, not denying. I'm still the shamanic astrologer, absolutely, but I'm integrating a whole new level of truth. So new things have become possible for me, and it's really rich and beautiful. And it's all since 2007 to now. It's really powerful. But with Sirius in Sag too, this is the mothering energy, the nurturing principle. We're nurturing truth and, again, having your own philosophy and kind of code to live by. Really important stuff. We also have this Capricorn party going on with Saturn and Pluto and the South Node. So we are creating new forms for our creative babies and creative projects, like we're, you know, getting physical and literal with that. But we're also transforming all the old structures in the world. You know, Saturn's a social planet, Pluto's a collective planet. We know that the utter transformation is going on in the world, and that means the rules are changing. The reality is changing. Our definitions of what's what is changing. In our personal world, it's our inner authority and our ability to author our own story. So as you develop that new perspective and new truth, or access to a deeper level of your own truth, you're going to start to anchor it over this year. And this spring feeds into that and allows you to hopefully pull from the past only the useful, relevant, benevolent goodness, the ancient wisdom, tried and true, that, you know, that kind of eternal wisdom, very useful. Council of the Grandmothers. We want to bring in that sacred feminine. Capricorn's a feminine sign. It's an earth sign. Earth is feminine. It's been hijacked by the patriarchy, but that's not necessarily its default setting, and we want to call that back in. And when you think of the council, again, the authority that determines the rules and the structure of our little society or our little neighborhood or community or what have you, that's all being transformed right now. So I just say get your vote in. You know, that's my big thing. Being aware of what's happening, what's supported, allows us to get our vote in. Venus is in Aquarius, which allows us to get radically different. We're having many new values and priorities. Again, with the routine of things shifting, you may have to do some things in a really different way, and that's okay. The Pisces stellium with Mercury retrograde and Vesta, what is sacred? God, oneness, source, your connection to source, your connection to spirit. This is what's sacred at this time. This is what should be nurtured at this time and fed and nourished so that it can grow strong throughout the year. Neptune's there for 14 years. It's a little past halfway through there, about 8 years in. It's its home placement, which it only does every 165 years. So we have a lot of deep connections for, let's say, bigger cycles, bigger patterns changing, which that ends up translating as large groups of us evolving at the same time and rising together. So let's claim that in our garden as well. And all this Piscean energy has allowed us to dream a new dream of creative collaborations, reciprocal relationships, and profitable partnerships. That's what we're calling in. That's what's supported by this chart. And Chiron's only at 1 degree, and for our spring equinox chart, that puts 0 degree Aries is where spring equinox point is. So we are healing so utterly. I can't even, there aren't words. The self-healing process that Chiron and Aries is going to support is so juicy and so beautiful, and we've got a good several years of it to get us through. But right there with the sun, where the source and the fuel and the energy is at this time, there's energy for self-healing, there is, let's say, progress you can make when you don't go it alone. So not that no one can do your healing for you. No one can learn for you. You know, my new thing is healing, education, and transformational soul work. No one can do your soul work for you. But you can have assistance, and you can have guides, and you can have support, and that can be your books, your crystals, your plants, you know, creating these relationships with the elemental kingdom and all of these resources that we either take for granted or forget sometimes because we're caught up in our human world. It's really good to get back in your body, back on the earth, connect with the above and below, the earth and sky, and recalibrate. You can do that in 30 seconds, by the way. You don't have to take a week off and go on vacation, although that's nice. But there's a lot of support for the self-healing with the support and protection of others. So this is the community work Shanta and I have devoted our lives to. We work with you one-on-one, and we have these group energy circles that we bring together, and it amplifies all of our abilities to create and manifest something of light, of love, of truth for the world, for the earth. And this is our dedicated service as a circle, and you all are part of that, and that is so rich and beautiful. And that goes into our garden. That goes into our individual gardens and into our collective gardens. We all benefit, even though we're not getting to see each other and hold hands right at this second. I can feel the energy. I can see us in a parallel universe right next to where we are in that 5D. This is where we're hosting our call in the fifth dimension, and we're all together. There is no separation. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. Right now, Mars is in Taurus, so there's a rhythm to the dynamics and to the sacred masculine, the part of you that negotiates on your behalf, holds good boundaries, and gets your ideas in the world. The sacred masculine that runs through male or female. The sacred feminine contains, nurtures, protects. So we allow for those cycles in the rhythm. And with it in Taurus, again, we're back to honoring the body, honoring the earth, honoring our resources, being proactive about it, wanting to create a life made by hand, to create something beautiful and long-lasting, all part of an energetic that is totally supported. And just knowing, reminding you that what you cultivate grows, and what you neglect withers. That's just the way it goes. So choosing is really important. Having an intention, not getting pushed around by the waves of energy that can come from solar flares or emotional, water waves, any kind of waves of energy that can throw you off your game. We want to be pulling back into that center, into your heart. I would love for Shanta to speak a little on the gyroscope of the heart, that mechanism that allows boats to stay level even in rocky seas. It's such an important thing. And our hearts are the only electromagnetic organs in the body, so it connects us to the core of the earth, which has fluctuations, and it connects us to the protective shield of the earth, and that too has fluctuations. So we have to allow our bodies to adjust to these new levels of light and energy, and be compassionate with your body. Be nice to your body. Give it a chance to, just giving our bodies a chance to catch up with their spirits. Our spirits are so ahead of the game these days. And review your commitments in your social realms. Review your friendships and those relationships that are not family, but your other support systems, the communities that you belong to. Is it balanced and reciprocal? Want to make sure that we have that. That is what's supported at this time. Finally, the North Node in Cancer is another thing that happens for about a year and a half that we all have access to, and is going to be activated by Cancer Capricorn eclipses over the next year. Let's just say the focus is on this kind of self-care, gentleness, protection, nurturing, nourishing, again, getting away from toxic mimics of love, of community, of service, of spirituality. There's lots of toxic mimics out there. We want quality nutrient. And usually for our beings, for human beings, it has to be real. It has to be authentic. It has to be of the earth and sky. It has to be real. So no synthetics allowed. It just doesn't work that way. So that's our equinox is so supported for just seeding our garden and being radically new and different, and liberating us from our past famines or lineage. Like, again, all the healing work that you're able to do actually liberates 7 generations behind you and ahead of you. just by default, just because you've done the work. It has unlocked a few things for others. You'll never know. You'll never know, but you can trust that it's happening and it's true and it's really useful. And so just a couple of notes about our full moon, because that completion in that Libra department is so strong. And I forgot to say this in the beginning because it's equinox. Winter, spring, summer, fall is also the time in the astrological year of Cancer, Capricorn, and Aries, Libra. So you are feeling it most intensely at these seasonal shifts and these transitional times. And cardinal signs like to make choices and decisions and take action on our dreams and things like that. And so all of that's up. That's definitely up. But think of this double dose of full moon as being really intense for this crew, because this is the home versus work, self versus other vibration. This is the individual within the context of the relationship. And that's changing. And so we have a lot of support from the super full moon to gain access to all the earned wisdom of every relationship you've ever had, and that includes DNA ancestors, and then let go. Claim that wisdom, and then let that relationship go and be whole with it. Because if you can let it go clean, at least now within the next 6 months, then either the righteous relationship comes back at a higher octave in a better form for you for now, for the relationship itself, and for what God's intent is for that combination of energies coming together, allowing for that. So brilliant. Or it can be gone and done, and it's okay because now it's freed up energy for new growth, for new relationships to come into your life. You're not being strangled or sucked dry or worn out by these heavy, heavy, burdensome vows and obligations and agreements that we made so long ago, possibly under duress, not in our right minds, not with all the facts, not with all the information. And now we have been allowed, by the support, in my opinion, of the planet since 2012, to renegotiate that. We're good. We're clean. If you've done your self-work, you're clean, and you can really step up your game in terms of how you relate with others going forward. I have a little note here, friendship saves the marriage. So anything you're deeply wedded to, think of how attached you get. Think of how powerful that attachment can be. And then realize if something threatens that or violates that or hurts that in some way. You know, what happens when our souls are violated, they flee. They go to a deeper part of ourselves for protection. And there's a time each year where we call that back in and we say it's safe for that aspect of our soul to come back up. But when I say friendship saves the marriage, there's an aspect to friendship that is such unconditional love and trust that it's not as charged with the emotions that a marriage or a contract or a relationship might have. So looking for those kind of lighter forms of relating is going to be supported now that you're clear, and because you have let go of all these old relationships and you may be welcoming new ones in, just again with taking your time. 90-day grace periods, 90-day probation periods, whatever you want to call it. It's an important time while you come into your own, while you learn to represent and express yourself in this new way, so that the response you're getting from others is what it's supposed to be. You want to be magnetizing that in. We are so complete with these vows and agreements from the past. So like I said, totally starting fresh, renewed values based on a new truth is what's happening. And so the transformation and the awakening is happening in your body and soul and is completely supported by the big boys. Pluto's the planet of transformation, and it's transforming your body. Reality, Saturn's the last visible planet that we can see with the naked eye, and Uranus is awakening in Taurus. Again, an awakening of electricity running through your body. Like, we are conduits, so we must learn how to be grounding cords as well, and I know Shanta's going to touch on that. Almost done. Got a couple of really juicy things to share when I get done with the chart. Doing home, family, love, and stability in radically different ways. Think of the new definitions of relationships, of family, and what that family dynamic looks like. Remember, we want to be tuned into the essence. And the essence of family is love, protection, laughter, if you're lucky, music, and good food. This is my family life. This is so part of it, that we're doing it in a new way. We don't have to do it the old way or by anyone else's kind of definition, for lack of a better way to put that. We are diving into the depths and coming back with creative solutions that include love, joy, harmony, balance, very big. Self-healing, completely supported by this chart as well. Be willing to commit to being a steward of the earth, or at least your little corner of it. So the healing work that we do can heal 7 generations forward and back. Any work that you can do that honors the earth, any little bit of thing, no plastic, whatever, your little one contribution, that's all we need. If everybody did a little bit, we would be there a lot faster. And nurturing, cultivating life, quality nutrient, no toxic mimics. So I want to give you last thing about the equinox kind of overview and the Aries. New moon is in between these 2 Libra full moons. So I would love to motivate you by letting you know those seeds that you're planting for the Aries new moon and the seeds that you're planting in the garden of your soul for this equinox that are going to run their course over the next 6 months to fall equinox, where they will show their promise and we'll know what things are all about. And then by a year from now, you should be working on a new aspect of your garden for sure. But the Aries new moon is a time to really activate your own independence, courage, conviction, willingness to begin anew, risk-taking, initiating, improvising, like I said. What do you truly want, desire, need? Checking in with what causes you care about. Like I said, anything that you do contributes. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be such a small thing, but this is a time to activate the clean slate and start fresh, cultivating the new identity and creating a new image, just birthing anew. Think of the new life, the burst of life. We just want to get it started. Don't think about the whole big enchilada. Just think about getting certain things started over the next 6 weeks. And because you're planting those new seeds, the part I wanted to share with you that is in its list form is my list of light version of Libra and the shadow version of Libra, because I feel like this can really help us hone our vision for this new beginning, whether you are tuning into the season of equinox or the lunar cycle of Aries Libra. Either way, this is all up. And this is what I mean by us being supported for the last several years of cultivating new partnerships and collaborations on so many levels with the elements and the plants and the animals and all of that, but also with each other and with Mama Earth. So when Libra is balanced and whole and true and active and doing what we want it to do, it is the ability to create win-win situations at home or work, and the innate conscious equal partnership with all life. It's about creating kinship, community, and a sense of belonging. This is all supported for renewal. Cultivating beauty, art, music, and harmony, all part of Libra's domain. The ability to create beauty in all that you are, all that you do, all that you have. That Mars and Taurus is really going to support that as well. Uranus and Taurus, really powerful alignments. Having a natural sense of balance, fairness, and justice. This is possible, you guys. Like I said, this is the 2 times a year that we have actual access to literal balance. So that includes fairness and justice, and we can call that in. The ability to mediate, negotiate, and integrate opposites so that there is no war between life and death or technology and humans or any of these wildly different opposite kind of things. There's a way to be balanced about it. Technology still has a place. It serves a purpose. It's a tool. It's a beautiful tool. It's helping us unite this evening, but it's not everything. We always want to remember our default settings are of the earth. And so being naturally magnetic, attractive, and loving, we're increasing that with the light and bathing our system in light so that our magnetic field lightens up as well. Creating, like I said earlier, the reciprocal relationships, creative collaborations, and profitable partnerships. So the shadow, what we're releasing and what we're getting 2 chances back-to-back in 30 days to release any imbalanced or toxic relationships, being antisocial and unable to contribute to community, excessive self-doubt, indecision, and an inability to commit, Staying busy, so most interactions are superficial. Okay, this is the buzzing, crazy, chaotic world we live in now. Being excessively other-directed to the neglect of self. That's not acceptable during Aries time. Every year I give everyone permission to be selfish and to know that self-preservation is not selfish but essential. And so when you're other-directed, sometimes that's a clue that there's something you don't want to look at in the mirror. So just asking the question invites the answer, no pressure, no judgment, not knowing what you want or asking for what you need, okay? Excessive giving to others until drained and or angry, feeling a false sense of estrangement and projecting fears onto others, imbalance, stagnation or extremes, excess or famine, or the overdone need for approval from others. That happens too. Again, we're not tuning into our heart and soul to make our decisions when we're other-directed like that, and it can grow super toxic. It's not a cool thing to do. So we have this seed planting, the new individual within the context of new communities and new relationships that are going to be magnetized in because you are new and different. And supporting us, and what I want to close with is this year, 2019, Mercury retrogrades like it does now in Pisces. It's going to do it again in Cancer, and it's going to do it again at the end of the year in Scorpio, all three water signs. So opening up to new creative flow and energetic flow, and often I add cash flow to that because cash is an energy and a flow in our monetary system here. We know that we can do things in other ways and not have to use actual cash money. We can trade and we can barter and we can create our own systems, and that is also tremendously supported to finding new ways of creating community and supporting community that isn't tied to that monetary system. It's really powerful and it's happening everywhere. But this Mercury retrograde is about our imaginations and surrendering to the spirit that wants to awaken within us. It's such a powerful thing. And when it does its thing through Cancer, we're going to review the quality nutrient that we are calling in now and making sure that we are digesting life and allowing our processes to run their full course in development. We're not rushing things at that time. And then at the end of the year, Scorpio is going to help you review this new connection to your power, because by the end of this year, you're going to be so different. And you will have integrated so much self-healing and so much new, raw, available truth. And you'll be grounding such a new reality that everything's going to be different. So trusting that different is good, trusting that it's all a great adventure, and that Mercury retrogrades happen 3 times a year to allow our mental bodies a break that we desperately, desperately need, and facilitate evenings like this where we can honor spirit and connect to our intuition and our inner knowing and go from there. So I'm going to invite Shanta back to help us anchor and ground that